The first time I went to prison, I was 15. Long corridors, loud slams, loose keys, long nights, lucid dreams. Corridors thick with the stench of bodies marinating in their own potential. Bodies contained, the when, the where, the who and the how of these bodies controlled, managed, monitored. Bodies that can't be trusted, hurt bodies that hurt other people's bodies. People. The grandson the grandmother rings me about. The panic in her voice she tries to conceal. It's not the first call. He's a young 20. How can I know he's okay? 15 and in prison, and I'm okay. My body resistant to containment and control. A shield I don't know I wear against a future I never had to imagine for myself. 15 and my privilege allows me to sneak inside these walls for an hour to see how the cage works. 15 and I'm alone with the prisoner. I shift uncomfortably in my chair. The real lawyer's taking a piss, I say. I try small talk and something weird happens. Turns out he's human. We're from the same town. We share Romany ancestry. Ancestors left India 1,000 years ago to wander. Our chances of meeting here 1,000 to 1, yet here we are. 15 years later and not so naive. Prison is 12% wrong where I'm from. Overseas and black guys from America, more chance of going to prison than university. Some American dream. But we're 100% pure New Zealand. There's nothing to see here, right? Wrong. I can dream. My chances of prison are so low in the fractions of a percent that I can't even see them from up here in my land of opportunity. Batch buying, tall poppy slaying Zealand of the new, post-colonial, rose-tinted, intergenerational trauma, the only thing trickling down. Prison population over half Māori. 15 years since I was 15, and incarceration is more of an addiction than a hobby these days. Tough on crime. Crime, the mythical beast best slain with no regard for what works. Prison stretches out its arms for more bodies, double bunked bodies. Bodies plucked from the top of the cliff and thrown to sea without a life jacket. Bodies. Prison, crime falls and prison grows, feeding on fears of those with least to fear. Prison, the only housing the government is investing in. The big 10,000 looms. 10,000 of our people in prison on any one day, and we choose more. How can we think of 10,000 people if we can't see them? The 10,000, these 1,000 words 10 times. 10,000. The 10,000 steps your Fitbit guilts you into taking, walking to work, up and down corridors, laps of the sofa before bed, just to reach 10,000. The 10,000. Imagine for a minute each step is a life inside. Each step a family, a whānau, victims, communities. Would we notice if almost all of the people of Queenstown disappeared, with just a few left to tell the tale of the missing? Add victims, communities, families to the mix, and it's half of Wellington City on any one day. We'd notice. Why don't we notice? It's said the closer you look, the more you see, but prisons are invisible. Up here in the land of opportunity, prisons don't even exist. Someone says to me, but if we closed some prisons, what would we do with all the bad people? My 3-year-old plays police and bad guys because his world is black and white. He also thinks he can fly and that he's been in the Olympics. Life constantly disappoints. Too soon he'll know that he cannot fly and that Olympic medals are not made of cardboard, but views of crime stay firmly black and white as the rest of the world turns technicolor. Siphoning off the bad from us good people, public safety, vulnerable children and the offenders we must protect them from. Can't we see they're often the same people? The ministry of vulnerable children, the self-fulfilling prophecy. Hurt bodies hurting other people's bodies. Prison. It's inevitable, they say. Inevitable, they say, as kids are locked up for crimes that adults would not be, because there's nowhere else for them to go. Inevitable, they say, as bail becomes a luxury that few earn or afford. If schools and hospitals failed at half the rate that prisons do, we'd redesign the system. When 90% of our teenagers in prison are reconvicted after release, we need to redesign the system. Can we not imagine a different outcome with $100,000 a year on each prisoner? $1 billion industry. More than the total sum of all treaty settlements every single year. The irony of over half of our prisoners and 2/3 of our women prisoners tongue at a whenua, and yet the system is benign. In our prison addiction, we haven't even made to the first step of recovery. We don't have a problem, nothing to see here, our Middle Zealand views implicated in the cycle of prison. Yet other reform has spread. Disabilities, mental health, institutions not the fashion they once were. Yet prison reform dare not speak its own name. So what can you do with a country so thirsty for punishment? You can tinker with the edges, coating the system with a gloss of humanity, but gloss only gets you so far as you paint a fresh coat over rotting wood. The edges, a morally safe space. To dare speak, safe reform, reform for those deserving of reform. But when even the edges are uncomfortable in criminal justice, how can we ever reach the centre? Colonisation, poverty, homelessness, inequalities, mental health, disabilities, identities, biases. The more you see, the more you want to change. It's time to just speak. When someone says to you that prison is the only option, you can just speak. When all there is silence, all the more reason to just speak. I'm Katie from Just Speak. Just Speak.